All right. So, see if I can make this a little larger. Maybe that helps. Uh, some of this out of the way. All right. So as you can see, this is UFC's Abdul Razak Alhassan. This is you can find this on MMAjunkie.usatoday.com. Alhassan says, he vents on past sexual assault accusations. He said it fucked me up mentally. Right, you see his picture there. This is dated July 11th of this year. Right, it says just over 4 years ago, Abdul Razak Alhassan received a verdict that cleared his name of sexual assault allegations. Hearing not guilty from a Texas jury was a massive relief. However, the UFC middleweight has struggled mentally with the entire situation because it is still attached to him despite being cleared of all charges. Now, we talk about this all the time. This is the problem with false accusations, right? The accusation itself will stick in the public, memory, and it's treated as a given. It's treated as if it's an inherent truth simply because it was lobbed out there. So this is the problem with the accusation, especially for Black men, most especially, because there's been ongoing stereotypes about Black men being rapists, being, people responsible for that going back to slavery. So these kinds of ideas kind of stick to the Black male image much more than any other group. So, baseless accusations are that much more important. And particularly if you have people close to you in your life that are willing to do this to you for one reason or another, this is another reason why you need to, quickly put them out of your lives, because this is dangerous and this can cost you a lot, including your life. Right? So anyway, I'll continue from here. Alhassan, who's 12-6 in the MMA, 6-6 at the UFC, admits that moving past the accusations has been difficult as it has changed him as a person and fighter. Really don't talk about this much, but there was a time in my life that some bad accusation happened to me, and I'm not going to lie, it effed me up. Alhassan started at Wednesday's UFC on ESPN 59 Media Day. As I swear to God, all my fights, I try to come back and try to find that me. I couldn't find it no matter what I do. Says I'd be walking in there, I'm fucking feeling ashamed because that is the most evil and most disgusting thing you could attach for somebody who, I'm a very prideful person, to even have something to attach my name to. It's very disgusting. I tried to forget about it. I try to work on it mentally. Prior to dealing with legal issues, Alhassan was 10-1 as a professional fighter. With his lone loss coming in the UFC by split decision, he was extremely confident and built a 3-fight winning streak of first-round knockouts in the UFC, and everything changed. He was burdened by false accusations of rape 2 weeks after he knocked out Nico Price in September 2018. He would not return to the cage until July 2020, over 3 months after being cleared. When he returned, things were not the same. He lost 3 straight, including missing weight for the first 2. Stuff just went south, he said. In everyday life, Alhassan has changed how he operates around women. He says he now records everything for his safety and that his phone is filled with audio recordings of interactions, even for the most routine events. Yeah, he's on that Mike Pence shit. Some real thing. I record everything. I swear to God, Alhassan said. I walk into an elevator right now, and if a woman walks in that with me, I turn my camera on right away. I open my phone, my audio right now. I swear I have so many audios on my phone because I'm scared. I'm scared of what's going to happen. Someone's going to do the same crap to me. I'm worried. He returns to the octagon at UFC on ESPN 59 in Denver to take on Cody Brundage. It's an opportunity to return to the win column after an October loss to Joe Pyfer. Although Alhassan lost to Pyfer, he believes the outing finally got things back on track for him mentally as he passionately vented his frustrations. He says, in my head, I was thinking to myself, I fixed it. He says, but I swear to God, I never did until, and then I guess he says, I'll thank Pyfer for that last fight. Of course, I was injured for the last fight, but hey, you still have to make money. And I came in there, but after the fight, I feel like that guy made me find that demon in me. That fuck everything I've been thinking about myself. I'm going to cry. I'm going to do anything I have to do, but I will never give up. And this is the time. I swear to God, I cannot wait to put my hand on this on this cat. He's getting his fire back. Says, I swear all the anger I have in me, all the anger, I'm going to unleash it on this cat. I swear to God. All the revenge I didn't get onto those. He said, all the revenge I didn't get on those evil motherfuckers. That revenge the law didn't allow me to get from that. Oh shit, he's going off He's definitely going off. I'm gonna put the link to this article in the description. He swears he keeps saying, he's gonna unleash the rage, basically. So he issues a warning to Brundage, who's 10-6 and 4-5 in the UFC, but later clarified he has no personal issues with his upcoming opponent and would like to go out to eat or train with him after they meet in the cage. For Alhassan, it's purely business, and this fight is simply another part of the process of overcoming the accusations that caused him so much mental trauma. I'm telling you this now. If you're watching wherever the hell you are, you better kill me in that ring. You better knock me out so I can't move, but I swear to God, you will regret that you fought Razak. I swear to God, I'm going to unleash the demon. All right. So you can see he's definitely going through it. You know, the impact of a false accusation. What does that do? You know, how does that impact you? Now, if this is happening to a professional fighter, how does this work for a guy who's working in an office? You know, how does this impact the father who has kids to take care of? How does this impact, you know, just the regular cat? You know, if this is causing this much damage to a public figure in the ring, you can imagine what it does to everybody else who's had to go through this or at least be concerned about it, right? He says, so John Smith says, facts. Nate Parker's reputation is still ruined, even though he was found not guilty. Yeah, exactly. And the ill part is he was found not guilty by a jury in the 90s before he was even famous. And yet, this cat's career is still gone. And as far as I'm concerned, Parker made one of the most pivotal movies in Nat Turner. I mean, I never thought I'd see a Nat Turner movie hit the screen. And it was powerful. But yeah, his career is still ruined behind that. You know. So anyway. Yeah. Let me see. Oh, I see you. Clutch and Stick says, I never throw a soda can on the ground in a park. Yeah, Patrice O'Neill. These kind of things have an untold impact, and people like to pretend like they don't. But men who are aware of what this can do tend to be very concerned, and they should be. They absolutely should be. You should try to protect yourself at all times. The difficulty, though, is just, you know, it's not easy to, you know, record as much as you like to protect yourself at all times. But this is what people go through, and we go through it at work, especially if you're a teacher. You know, you got to deal with false accusations from anybody, and it could be anybody who's mad at you for whatever reason, a grade that they didn't like, not picking them during class discussion, disagreeing with them, or just espousing something they disagree with. But you got to wonder at all times for years after how this may come back and be used against you in one fashion or another. So, you know, these are the kind of issues that men face. Southpaw says it was predominantly a white jury too, Doc. Yeah, for Nate Parker, you're absolutely right. And there's not a legacy of white juries finding black men innocent. And those men, and, you know, just, you know, people would try to say, well, he probably paid him off. He was a student in college. He wasn't famous back in the 90s. For him to be found innocent at that time, but, you know, that's not taken into account. He's a black male. And this is some of the problems that black men have had with a lot of this Me Too culture, even the DEI stuff. It's tended to view heterosexual males as, you know, a problem simply because they're heterosexual males. So this is why black men in many ways are a bit reserved when it comes to these various issues. So anyway, shout out to Abdul Razak Alhassan. I hope he is able to get back on his feet after all this time, but clearly it's going to be something difficult, and I hope he's able to move past it. For everyday brothers like ourselves, hey, you know, just all you can do is watch your back, do the best you can, and try to find ways to protect yourself before an incident even occurs. Almost impossible across the board, but it can't hurt to take some precautions. Now, on a slightly different track, but still important and related to this, I suppose, you have this piece here. Right? So this is AmericanMilitaryNews.com. One female staffer at Bronx Juvenile Jail was sexually abused a dozen troubled kids lawsuit. Pictured at the front of the article is Hasan Johnson, pictured Friday, June 28, 2024 in the Bronx, New York. And it reads, New York, Hasan Johnson learned early that in order to stay safe at Bronx Juvenile Jail, we're not talking about just jail in general, we're talking about a juvenile jail, he could make a key ally, a female counselor with outsized influence over daily operations at the facility. So when Jones, then 16, was called into Natalie Medford's office at Horizon Juvenile Center, where he was locked up in 2012 for snatching another kid's cell phone, he said she offered him a deal that can make or break his time in detention. He said, if I look out for her, she'll look out for me. Jones recalled being told, an episode outlined in an interview with the Daily News and in court documents. Medford, more than double Jones' age, then pulled down his pants and performed oral sex, according to Jones, and a lawsuit filed this spring in Bronx Supreme Court. After that first exchange, I knew exactly what it meant, he said. Jones estimates he was sexually abused by Medford 5 times while he was detained. Jones was one of a dozen plaintiffs who claimed the staffer sexually abused them at Horizon. They are among 250 former detainees who have filed a blockbuster legal claim currently suing New York City over sexual abuse in juvenile jails. Their civil lawsuits are being brought under local law that has temporarily lifted the statute of limitations on gender-based violence. Now, I talked about this a while ago because there were a number of latent accusations coming forth toward male administrators. This is the first one that I'm seeing that deals with female administrators. So it's interesting that this whole statute of limitations on gender-based violence is coming up. I think it's starting to go a direction they didn't expect. And I'll show you why in a little bit as it pertains to juvenile jails, but let's continue. Next section, misconduct dating back decades. Medford made headlines in the late 2010s for 3 federal lawsuits against the city that named her and accused her of sexual abuse. She filed counterclaims against the city and the victims, saying the allegations were false and malicious, and demanded they pay up for the harm they allegedly caused. The suits were all eventually settled. The latest complaint claims her alleged misconduct dates back further than publicly known to at least 2005. Administration for Children's Services, which operates juvenile jails, confirmed Medford was employed by the city from 2005 to 2015. She continued to receive government checks until 2016, payroll data show. Spokesperson for the agency would not say if Medford was terminated or if they were referred the matter for prosecution, but ACS has a zero tolerance policy on sex abuse that after a thorough investigation could result in termination. Medford could not be reached for comment and is not named a defendant in the lawsuit, which takes aim at the city's policies and procedures that the plaintiff's lawyer said are inadequate and a culture of secrecy in its juvenile jails. As bad as Natalie Medford's conduct was, this is not a case of a single bad actor in the system, said Jerome Block, partner at Levy Konigsberg LLP. Her misconduct is very much consistent with a pattern and practice of sexual abuse that we've seen among many of these adult juvenile detention staff members that has affected hundreds of our clients. Another plaintiff, I guess it's Gamal McFarland, was in Horizon a few years earlier than Jones. He had just moved back to New York from Ohio, where he lived with his mom after fleeing domestic violence and was fighting with his dad, who had spent most of his life in and out of prison. He says he turned to a family friend he considered a cousin and was roped into assaulting and stealing a few $100s from an older man they knew. At Horizon, McFarland, then 16, received special treatment from Medford, according to interviews and the lawsuit. As he remembers it, she smuggled in Burger King from next door or marijuana between 2 buns, and let him use her phone. She passed letters between McFarland and a female detainee, he said, dressing her in male uniforms and sneaking her to the boys' side of the facility. Medford started visiting McFarland's room before her shift ended, telling him stories about her ex-husband and kissing him on the lips. According to the lawsuit and interviews, sometimes during those stories, he alleged she would fondle his genitals over his clothes or while he was naked. She's talking to me while she's doing this, he said. She took advantage of emotions and feelings, so you kind of got no choice but to either say, I do not care at all, or you feed into it. Medford had promised McFarland a birthday party, which he said they celebrated together after he was released by having sex. According to the lawsuit and interviews, she later coerced him into living with her in her home. He in court documents said, I feel like it changed me in ways that I honestly didn't start realizing until recently. Even trusting people, I was putting a lot of trust in her with stuff. I was feeling like she was going to have my back. It still affects me with people. As far as thinking that they really have my back or they really mean what they say they or really care. According to the lawsuit, a Horizon employee contacted the city Department of Investigation about Medford, saying she's found naked on top of the detainee inside of the detainee's cell. The news reported in 2017. Bronx District Attorney's Office confirmed at the time of its child abuse and sex crimes unit was investigating but did not return requests for comment last week. Manhattan federal prosecutors also launched a probe into allegations of sexual abuse at Horizon Juvenile Center in the Bronx, according to a 2018 media report. As lawsuits were filed, a Horizon supervisor ordered records related to the case to be shredded. There's no indication arrests were made. While the case is under review by the law department, ACS spokeswoman Marissa Kaufman said the current administration has taken steps to prevent sex abuse from occurring in its facilities. There's a compliance manager with the law in each facility, and other staff have to conduct at least one unannounced inspection during each shift, according to the agency. All uniformed staff who work with detainees have to complete an initial sexual misconduct training and biannual refreshers. Sexual abuse and harassment is aberrant and unacceptable, and we take these allegations against a former employee very seriously, Kaufman said. It is our mission to provide the highest quality care to youth, but for Jones, the reforms are too late. A Bronx resident, now 26 and living a stone's throw away from Horizon, said he used to struggle with suicidal thoughts and learned that men can be victims of sexual abuse. Today, he's hoping to apply to law school and represent young kids who were lost like him. As I didn't have the perspective to understand that I was being taken advantage of, I just saw what I was getting out of the deal. Speaking to my therapist, she broke it down to me in a way that was so profound. Told me like I was a child. My brain wasn't even fully developed yet, and I was in a place where we are all taught to survive off the meanest of our instincts. Right? Now, hold on. I told you that I would relate this to something else. Let me see if I can find it quickly. Let's see how long this will take. I think I might have moved it around on this computer. There it is. All right. Okay. So why is this important? Well, let me show you what I have on the screen. Now, I do have this document. This is something I published online years ago. This is on the blog, Black Masculinities, newblackmasculinities.com. And it's called the Male Rape Information Sheet. Right? So this was a while ago, but I just tabulated some data points that I thought were particularly important. I cited the sources from them there, and you'll find all kinds of data around male rape, experiences with sexual assault, so on and so forth. In this particular one, I thought it would be interesting for you to see how this particular article leads to this point here. Just highlight the checkbox. For example, juveniles reporting staff sexual misconduct. 89% were boys reporting abuse by a female staff member. In total, inmates reported an astronomical 900,000 incidents of sexual abuse. 900,000 incidents of sexual abuse, most particularly from female staff members and male juveniles in custody or in the facility. As I've said before, I think this second point is important to understand why this whole question of male victims of sexual assault is important. Because from 1930 to 2012, the FBI defined forcible rape for data collection purposes as the carnal knowledge of a female forcibly and against her will. Eventually, localities began to rebel against that limited gender-bound definition. In 2010, Chicago reported 86,767 cases of rape, but used its own broader definition, so the FBI left out of the Chicago stats. Finally, in 2012, the FBI revised its definition and focused on penetration with no mention of female or force. Although helpful, this definition still ignores made to penetrate situations for males. Right? So the point here is that even the definition of rape as we understand it up until 2012 was largely defined strictly by a violation to a woman's body, female body, right? But in order to hold that definition, there were thousands upon thousands of cases that were ignored and just cataloged over the years, but not classified because that it didn't fit the formal definition. So again, when we start talking about these various situations with boys and juvenile facilities and female guards, there's been an ongoing tradition of sexual violation. And that doesn't even include what goes on in the community in terms of older women and younger underage boys, something that we either ignore altogether or we look at maybe as a rite of passing. But a lot of people, in order to kind of maintain that thought process, you kind of have to have a pornographic view of it. Like, you got this hot, gorgeous woman that wants you like your hot teacher in high school and you're 16. Yeah, but that's not always how that works. That is far from how that works. Right? A lot of the time you find yourself dealing with somebody that you are not attracted to at all, but forced to deal with in order for you to be able to survive in the environment you're in. Whether you're a student trying to graduate, whether you're in a facility you hope you can get out of, and it all depends on her. These are the kind of things that happen and have happened, particularly to young men for years. But again, we don't talk about it. So when we do, which is rare, we kind of, give it a pornographic kind of narrative, or we just suggest this is part of his becoming a man. Now, obviously, if you flip the genders, then it becomes a problem. Right? Then it becomes an issue. But short of that, boys can take it. They like it. As long as they got a wet hole to put something in, they're fine. That is not what the data suggests, especially when you look at it from a psychological standpoint. And what we found, especially if you look at Dr. Tommy Curry and Dr. Ebony Utley's work, she touched me. If you look at that paper, one of the things they outline is that when it comes to trauma, when it comes to young men in particular, trauma is trauma. And they experience it, due to violation, to the same extent that girls do. It's just there's a different societal response, a different societal interpretation of those experiences. So these boys generally don't have anywhere to go and nobody that takes them seriously. That trauma comes out in different forms as they get older, which is what Curry and Utley's paper actually deal with. So just to kind of put that in there, just to let you know, these are things that are impacting people, and they're still impacting people. And for some reason, we still ignore it. So anyway, just kind of wanted to put that on the table, give you some things to think about.